surrounding business, economy, and development. Infomercials and jingles that stand out. Short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards. Independent production spaces with full technical support. Special coverage for individual and corporate events. A special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it. And business support services tailored for small enterprises. SOUQ News TV, powered by FemWatch Limited. Also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano. And Emirate News Television, Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. SOUQ News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on Just Africa. Apologies for that breaking transmission there. Now, we've been having conversation with Bukola. She is an expert when it comes to fighting ultra-processed food contamination, including tobacco control activities, and how she felt industries are taking advantage of Africans, and our way of life has changed. Welcome. Many thanks for joining us once again, Bukola.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Now, some of the lifestyle activities that you mentioned whilst you were responding to my colleague's question, the industrialists themselves will argue that it is not as a result of what they've done that rapid urbanization in the continent of Africa is a necessity for that transition. Globalization by its own self has equally, flooded into the African continent. And these are reasons. In fact, your work schedule itself is even enough to change your activities. Why are the industrialists being blamed for this act when they are just there to provide jobs for the rapid growing population in Africa and contributing their own economic benefit and quota for the development and employment for the people in Africa? They will want to puncture your argument by these points I just mentioned out to you.
Yeah, definitely. So the industry obviously has its playbook, and they have implemented this playbook across different countries. And, it happened in South Africa, where South Africa was trying to implement taxes on sugar sweetened beverages. The industry came out to say, oh, we're contributing to the economy, there are going to be job losses, and then it's going to affect our national productivity and all manner. It's a playbook that we have seen play out across different continents of the world. And after, South Africa implemented taxes on sugary drinks with the justification that if you're feeding people with sugary drinks and claiming that it's a staple for the poor, and people feed on these drinks every day and it's exposing them to diabetes, obesity, and dental caries, then we're going to impose a tax on you. And then proceeds from that tax will be used to finance healthcare. Will be used for healthcare financing for the treatment of the diseases that you have caused, which is actually justifiable. After that, a lot of these industries now started moving from production of these sugary drinks into other healthier alternatives. You see, if the industry cannot go out of market because it has the free, the opportunity to move from what's not selling to what's selling now. They can diversify into other products that are now selling. If the demand for sugary drinks has gone down or the demands for ultra-processed foods has gone down, these same industries diversified into producing healthier alternatives, and they are aligned with public policies. At the end of the day, data actually showed that there were no job losses. They declared more profit. However, that was just their playbook. They apply this playbook across different countries, which we have also seen play out in Nigeria. Anytime, policies are put in place to promote healthy healthy food policies are underway in the country. You always have industry pushback. They'll say, oh, if you implement this policy, it's going to affect the market. If you reduce salt in ultra-processed food products, it's not going to be tasty. It's going to reduce demand. But this has been data. Governments have actually also gone into researching before and after. They come with a baseline. Okay, this is where you are. After implementing these policies, we also want to see how far these policies have affected your businesses, and then they find out that it's a lie, And recently, I think Coca-Cola actually declared in Africa, they declared the largest, I think, profit share, something like that. There's a report, a recent report. If you look at it, they're even making more profit over Africa than what they used to make before, because they latch on, our poor regulatory framework. So I don't believe industry lies. They obviously have a playbook that has proven false across different continents of the world.
Thank you very much. Now, you mentioned South Africa and probably one other country, but let me mention that of Nigeria. Nigeria introduced an excise duty of 10 naira per liter on sugary drinks in December 2021. Tax, officially part of the Finance Act 2021, applies to all non-alcoholic, carbonated and sweetened beverages. So I think Nigeria itself is taking that route. We really hope that those monies realized from the sale of these commodities will be used to build health facilities and expand our health infrastructure, not only in Nigeria, but generally in the continent of Africa. But I want to ask another question. There's a rapid boom of population, and organic foods cannot suffice to take care of these people. The existence of fast food entities seems to be solving this problem, number one. Number two, an organization, an institution like the National Administration for Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, is also playing its own role to make sure that there are regulatory policies to regulate this fast food industry. Don't you think they are equally doing a good job? And with the efforts of these two institutions coming together, do you not think we have actually achieved a balance in Nigeria and in Africa?
My sincere apologies. You were actually breaking through the call, so at a point I couldn't hear you. If you could just just summarize the question again, so I'll get you clearly.
Okay, so I was actually trying to tell you about the role that NAFDAC is playing in regulating these sugary substances as a government institution saddled with the responsibility to do that, and if they are not actually doing what the terms of reference of the establishment of the organization is doing. And secondly, I also mentioned that there's a rapid growth in global population in Africa and most especially in Nigeria, and organic food cannot take care of this population. Don't you think the ultra-fast food services are filling in the gap?
I actually do not think the ultra-processed fast food companies are filling in the gap. Nigeria as a country, data has actually shown that we consume more of our indigenous foods than ultra-processed food products. Like Nigerians, even in diaspora, prefer to consume more of locally available food than ultra-processed food products. So if you say that ultra-processed food products are filling in the gap of bridging the gap of food insecurity, I do not totally agree with that. I agree that there's food insecurity in the country, which is caused by a lot of factors. Part of the factors include,
No, go on.
Okay, and some of these factors actually include the high level of insecurity across the country. However, people still try to farm. Yes, we know that to some extent, even the high cost of transportation has obviously impacted on the availability and affordability of food. However, Nigerians still buy these foods. Yes, to say that there is food insecurity, yes, there is. However, are the ultra processed foods relatively cheap also? I can remember, I think sometime 2 years ago, a bottle of sugar sweetened beverage would go for 150 naira. But at the moment, sugar sweetened beverages, the price has hit 500 to 600 naira. So they're not like a bailout as they make it look. You understand? Because Nigerians still fall back to the foods that are affordable and locally available. So I do not believe that food industries are bridging the gap of food insecurity. This is not to say that they are not part of the food system. However, saying that they are the bailout, I do not believe that. And then you talked about regulation. Yes, in Nigeria, a sugar sweetened beverage tax of 10 naira per liter was implemented a few years back. However, 10 naira per liter is no longer effective as of today because the economic realities have changed. The value of 10 naira sugar sweetened beverage tax on a liter of drink is very, very low, and it may actually not help us to achieve or to even raise enough funds for healthcare financing, which is part of the reasons why CAPA is actually advocating for an increase in the sugar sweetened beverage tax to 130 naira per liter because 10 naira is of no value today. However, if they have to pay 130 naira per liter tax on sugar sweetened beverages, money realized from it can be channeled towards treatment as well as other public health interventions targeted at tackling non-communicable diseases in Nigeria. So the regulatory bodies, of course, they are doing their job. However, we are requesting that they do more at making these policies effective. It's one thing to have a policy or a regulation in place. It's another thing to have these policies or these regulations adequately monitored and implemented effectively to yield the desired result. So our appeal is that, yes, we have this policy. We have a sugar sweetened beverage tax. However, is the tax properly earmarked to management of non-communicable diseases in the country? At the moment, Nigeria allocates zero funds to treatment and prevention of non-communicable diseases. It's not part of in Nigeria's basic healthcare package. You cannot walk into the hospital and be treated for free of hypertension. People, this has hampered on, this is a disease that actually affects the productive, population in this country. You have people from their 20s, ranging up to their 50s, suffering from either hypertension, diabetes, and kidney failure, and a lot of these diseases. And then the government, as of today, does not allocate funds to treatment and care of non-communicable diseases in the country. That's not a good place to be. This has hampered on our life expectancy, as reported. Yes,
it's
please,
less
as
than
reported
50. It's less than
recently.
50. Yeah, because I was even going there. But then
yes,
again,
this
look,
has a grave effect.
How about we nip it in the bud, right? We'll start from the beginning because look, the problem is already there, right? And I see the advocacy. You want a tax to be made on sugar sweetened beverages, and I mean there's another campaign for front of product package labeling and stuff. Yes. So some of these policies exist, right? But how about we focus on fixing the problem from the beginning? How much of this information do people have to, for example, avoid all these UPFs and sweetened beverages? How much advocacy are done from that end so that people can know to avoid these things before you get into it and then begin to look for how to, fix the health problem?
Yes. So for advocacy, a whole lot of work has gone into advocating for an increase in sugar-sweetened beverage tax, as well as, limiting. For instance, last year, a national guideline for sodium reduction was launched to help Nigerians reduce their salt and sodium intake. So the government is doing so much. From that national guideline, NAFDAC is currently working on a regulation that will hold industries accountable to reduce the quantity of salt and sodium in processed and prepackaged foods that are sold on market shelves, because 75% of the salts that we consume come from prepackaged and processed foods, because you require a lot of salt to preserve these foods and elongate its shelf life. So NAFDAC had even launched this regulation, was launched on NAFDAC's website for public comments. They closed comments on the 22nd of August, and we're hopeful that before the close of this year, they may call for a stakeholder, engagement. So a whole lot of advocacy work is going on. The Federal Ministry of Health, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, they are doing a fantastic work to put measures in place to, regulate the food environment. Of course, if we do not regulate the food environment, there's little that we can do. Furthermore, as CAPA and its through the Federal Ministry of Health, Global Health Advocacy Incubator, and other partners are also raising awareness, sensitizing the public of the public health consequences of excessive salt intake, excessive sugar intake. If you go on social media, CAPA is there educating people, organizing press briefings, going on different platforms, both traditional and digital media, to educate people. This is not to say that, of course, we have reached everyone. However, work is ongoing. We are also partnering with key stakeholders in government to amplify the messaging. So it's tackling unhealthy diets would require a multi-sector approach. It's going to require different actors putting their hands on deck, not just food regulation. It's going to require mass media. It also requires incorporation of nutrition education into school curriculums. We have a technical working group that comprises of stakeholders from the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, to also work on policies that will expand access to healthy and wholesome foods, to ensure that healthy food is accessible, is affordable. So a whole lot of work is going on in this regard. If you want to know more.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, since the advocacy started and the policies are already there, are you already seeing positive change or positive trends since the advocacy started? And then give us your final message or word to agencies, parents, children, what people need to know, so we can get a healthy society, say, in another 2, 3, 4 years?
Yes. So I would say that, of course, we have seen positive results with the advocacy work that has been done. With policymakers, the policymakers are very receptive, and they are working fast to see that these policies are not only in place but are also implemented. For industries, we have actually received industry buy-in to cooperate with the Ministry of Health to ensure that their products are reformulated to meet with set standards. You see, that's applaudable. And then with the public also, of course, there's been ongoing grassroots mobilization, ongoing public awareness and sensitization, and people are coming to the realization. Some would say that, before we thought it was only too much sugar that was a problem. We didn't know that excessive intake of salt is also a problem. So we have seen measurable change. However, we are still aiming at doing more and achieving more, not on our own, but of course through the Federal Ministry of Health that has been very supportive, through NAFDAC and other major stakeholders and Global Health Advocacy Incubator, civil society organizations. A lot. So we have seen measurable change.
Great.
So for last words,
Great.
yes,
Okay.
to parents, I would say the earlier we watch what we feed our children, the better. Stop packing unhealthy, ultra-processed foods in your children's lunch boxes, because this is a huge determinant, not only in their health, but in the quality of life that they would live, not just as children, but as adults in the near future. So it's profitable for a parent to
All right.
ensure that they pack healthy, wholesome food in their children's lunch packs. To industries, of course, reformulate your products. To policymakers, kindly, of course, I said to industries, reformulate your product. Don't just reformulate your product, put people before profits, because at the end of the day, industry actors are also members of the public. And what you
Okay.
put out there will affect you directly or indirectly. And then to our policymakers, we appreciate the good work that they're doing to expand access to healthy food. We also ask that they intensify work and act faster on ensuring that these regulations and these policies are not only
All right.
in place but enforced
All right.
for greater results. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Bukola Olukemi Odele. I would have preferred that we just continue on handing with the conversation with you, because you've been quite excellent in the way you converse and the way you are trying to argue from Kappa's perspective, that the industrialists will not see that. But I dare say the industrialists are not completely wrong. But it's a good fight you are fighting. Thank you very much. Bukola Olukemi Odele is the project officer for cardiovascular health at Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, a leading civil society organization focused on advancing corporate accountability and public health in Africa. She is also a seasoned public health advocate with expertise in nutrition policy, non-communicable disease prevention, and community health education. Through her work at Kappa, Bukola has led public awareness programs and campaigns on healthy diet, tobacco control, and food regulation, and has been quite instrumental to Kappa's advocacy for stronger regulation on ultra-processed foods and sugary beverages across the continent of Africa. Thank you so much for your time with us. We really had a robust conversation
For
with
having
you. We
me.
look forward
It's a
to
pleasure
having you
to
next
be
time.
here.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation. Have a nice
Great.
day.
You too. Just Africa is not done yet.
Oh, no.
Building infrastructure through analytics and innovation refers to the strategic use of data-driven decision-making and technological creativity to shape Africa's development trajectory. Analytics involves collecting, processing, and interpreting data to reveal patterns, predict trends, and support smarter decisions in governance, business, and social development. Innovation they also refer to creating new solutions, whether technology, business, or social. They improve productivity, efficiency, and quality of life together. We're going to break. By the time we return from this break, we should have a guest on the studio, not in the studio, virtually, for us to talk about this. Just Africa, we're back in a moment. Do stay with us.
Augmented reality (AR) is a technology that merges computer-generated images with the user's real-world view, creating a composite experience. This interactive experience integrates various sensory modalities, such as things you can see, hear, and even feel, making the experience interactive and immersive. In recent years, the emergence of this transformative technology has seamlessly integrated digital and physical realms. This groundbreaking innovation relies on specialized hardware like smartphones and smart glasses equipped with cameras and sensors, AR software, and Apple's AR Kit and Google's AR Core. Then creates immersive experiences by overlaying virtual content onto the user's real-world environment. AR software such as Apple's AR Kit and Google's AR Core then creates immersive experiences by overlaying virtual content onto the user's real-world environment. AR's applications span diverse industries from gaming to education, healthcare, retail, and manufacturing. In education, AR enhances learning through interactive and dynamic experiences, while in healthcare, it aids surgical planning and medical training. Retail experiences are transformed as AR enables customers to virtually try on products and visualize furniture in their homes. Despite its potential, AR faces challenges such as technical advancements and user privacy concerns. Overcoming these hurdles will unlock even more seamless and immersive AR experiences, making it an integral part of our daily lives. As technology progresses, the horizon for AR broadens, promising a future where our interactions with the world are richer and more interconnected. Augmented reality is not just a trend, it's a revolution shaping the way we live, learn, and work. Goma Fortune, SOUQ News.
Human ingenuity has birthed remarkable innovations, none more so than the rise of intelligent machines. Computers, once small calculators, have evolved into sophisticated systems capable of mimicking human thought processes. Powered by an artificial intelligence, AI, these systems are learning, problem solving, and making decisions that were once exclusive domain of humans. From accelerating scientific discovery to tackling climate change, AI's potential is vast, but perhaps its most profound impact lies in healthcare. Artificial intelligence, AI, it's no longer a futuristic concept. It's here with the potential to revolutionize patient care, diagnosis, and treatment. AI is emerging as a powerful tool in the hands of medical professionals. From detecting diseases early to optimizing treatment plans, AI is demonstrating remarkable capabilities. It can analyze vast amounts of medical data to identify patterns and predict outcomes, aiding in more accurate diagnosis. Also, AI-powered robots are assisting in surgeries, improving precision, and reducing recovery times. However, despite its promises, challenges persist. Concerns about data privacy, ethical implications, and the need for robust regulatory frameworks are hindering widespread AI adoption. To fully unlock AI's potential in healthcare, collaborative efforts are essential. Healthcare providers, researchers, policymakers, and technology companies must work together to develop and implement AI solutions responsibly. By addressing ethical concerns, investing in AI research, and creating supportive regulatory environments, we can accelerate the integration of AI into healthcare and improve patient outcomes. Joy Chuma, SOUQ News.
Anthony Onyemaechi Elumelu was born on the 22nd of March 1963 in Jos, North Central Nigeria, to Susanna Dominic Elumelu, originally from Delta State. Tony earned a degree in economics from Ambrose Ali University, where he laid the foundation for his future career, and then furthered his education at the University of Lagos, where he obtained a master's degree in economics. His academic journey also includes attending the Harvard Business School, where he completed the Owner of President Management program, equipping him with advanced business management skills. Tony currently serves as the chairman of Heirs Holdings, Transcorp, and United Bank for Africa, UBA, demonstrating his significant influence in the banking and investment sector. He founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation, which aims to empower African entrepreneurs through comprehensive training, mentorships, and funding opportunities. In addition to his professional achievements, he's also a family man, married to Dr. Adele Vivian Elumelu, and together they have 7 children. In 2020, his efforts were acknowledged when he was named one of Time's 100 most influential people in the world. Anthony Elumelu's net worth is estimated to be around $700 million. A testament to his successful ventures and strategic investments. Elumelu continues to be a driving force in the business world, advocating for sustainable economic growth and empowering the next generation of African entrepreneurs.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. We have our guest who is standing by now, is joining us virtually. He is Christopher Udoka. Christopher Udoka is a data analyst, project manager, and an entrepreneur with a passion for using analytics to drive business growth and strategic decision making. He holds certifications in data analytics and project management and has led several data-driven transformation projects across sectors, including fintech, education, and public policy. Christopher is an advocate for innovation-led development in Africa, focusing on empowering startups and youth with data literacy and technological skills. His work bridges the gap between analytics, entrepreneurship, and sustainable development, helping organizations translate data into measurable impact. Christopher Udoka, you are welcome to Just Africa.
Thank you very much.
Great. It's nice to have you. Now, first of all, let me get straight to work. From your experience as a data analyst and project manager, how can data analytics directly contribute to economic growth, economic transformation in Africa, and probably, well, to be a little bit personal, Nigeria?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. I think that data analysis is still in the phase of the baby phase. I like to call it the baby phase in Africa, because we are still trying to bridge the gap between what we know and what we think we know. Most organizations rely on expertise, years of expertise from experience, not expertise from data. So you discover that expertise from data is actually much more valuable. I'm not saying that experience is not valuable, but data tells a story that experience would not tell. So you realize that so many businesses rely on expertise based on what they think they know and not what they know. So I think data analysis is very, very important. If it will move Africa from where Africa is right now, because we are still seen as the continent, the third world continent. So I think data analysis would move Africa from where it is presently to either the second world phase or even the first world phase. Thank you.
Okay, now, so what are the major barriers preventing African economies and Africa from moving past the baby phase, the infant phase, like you referred it to, of data and the use of data for economic development and all of that? What are the barriers do you think we are contending with, and how can we, surpass these barriers?
Well, one of the barriers is, I think we are still in that phase where we rely on cloud-based systems that doesn't look into the peculiarity of our market. We still rely on Western cloud-based systems that doesn't take our peculiarities as Africans and as Nigerians into perspective. Let me give you an example. An example is how people use POS machines, for example. The way that people use POS machine in the Western world is quite different from the way that we in Nigeria use POS machines. And you discover that most cloud-based softwares doesn't take into consideration those peculiarities. So I would say that we need African or Nigerian-based cloud. Of course, I know that there are some that are springing up, and I wouldn't want to mention them because of the interaction.
Obvious.
But I know that there are some that are, yeah, I know there are some that are springing up, but they are still not businesses are still not adopting them, because there's this saying that the Nigerian thing or the African thing is usually seen as inferior, so they still rely on this foreign-based system. Like, there are systems from India, there are systems from China, and there are even systems from the United States. And you discover that most businesses in Africa use systems that are from India, that doesn't take into consideration our peculiarities. So I think one of the most ways is that we make indigenous cloud-based systems available.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, okay, Odoka, I see that you've got this love for data, right? But the African business environment is heavily dependent or filled with small businesses. And when we talk about small businesses, they might be as small as the woman that is selling something in the corner of her street, right? But how do you now convince such a people that data is very, very valuable for their businesses to scale up?
It is. You see, one of the things is that we may be slow, but eventually we get it right. That is the thing about embracing technology, because at the end of the day, you discover that data analysis is technology, and you could there are several examples, like the mobile phone, for example, or even something as little as the mobile phone. You see that people, when mobile phone came out, you see people start there's this reception. There's usually this reception at first of mobile internet usage or technology as a whole. But as time went by, people started seeing the benefits of of that particular technology. So I feel that if the bigger businesses, so to speak, see the benefits of data analysis, it is going to rub off on smaller businesses. And of course, when it rubs off, they are going to see it as a necessity, because data analysis is a necessity. If somebody buys something, for example, what did the person buy? What time of day? What informed the person's decision to buy that particular kind of product? What season was it? Was it, for example, nobody buys raincoats during summer or dry season. Everybody will buy raincoats during the rainy season, because it is that time that people actually need raincoat. So all these decisions, if properly channeled using data analysis, would actually help businesses thrive. For example, the person staying by the corner shop selling raincoats would not display raincoats during the dry season. But once it starts raining, you say that the person displays raincoat. So that's data. The person understands that, okay, this is the time of the year where people usually, if the person wants to make an order, for example, the person will not make an order by when it is hot for raincoat. The person will probably wait until probably March or April, when the person knows that rainy season is coming, and then the person places an order. So all this is what data analysis entails, because it actually helps businesses make informed decisions. And when you make informed decisions in your business, it actually helps your business thrive. So that's it.
So, I mean, I know many of our small businesses are set in their ways, in the sense that they just want to buy and then they sell. They naturally do analysis, but not the way we do, maybe consider it in formal education styles, or as one to put it. Because I remember I did a research and I went to the field. I wanted some of the small businesses to do bookkeeping with their phones. They had this app that just do bookkeeping on your phone, and it helps you track. One of the things that we found was it was even difficult to get them to use a smartphone. It was like a phone that you can now begin to punch most of your information in. Now, you have been able to conquer that a bit. Tell us some of the challenges that you spotted and, of course, how you were able to fix some of these problems.
Sorry, please, can you come again?
So some of the problems, tell us some of the problems that you've noticed amongst businesses where you try to convince them to use data analysis or data analytics. Because many of them are set in their ways. They want to do maybe use experience like you mentioned before.
Okay. Most of the time it is cost. Because, of course, the average business, yes, cost. Because, of course, the average business, sometimes you set up your business to maximize profit. And then when you ask them that, okay, why wouldn't you want to get a data analyst? They tell you things like, oh, it is expensive, it is this and that. And then most of the time when I get the privilege to actually do probably a financial audit of that organization, I discover that they are bleeding much more financially. They are making much more financial loss than if they employed a data analyst. Because one of the major things that data analysts do is actually, if your business is bleeding loss, or it is bleeding some financial leakages, they could actually look into your books and then use that data and then try to see where those leakages is coming from. So you discover that these businesses are actually making much more leakages than if they had employed a data analyst or a business data analyst. So one of the downside, or one of the reasons why several businesses do not or have sort of refused the adoption of analysts or professionals in their organization is because of cost. And then when you discover that they are bleeding much more than if they had employed. So I would say that the major challenge has always been cost.
Okay.
So that's it.
So essentially, if you're able to eliminate the costs of hiring a data analyst, you think businesses can actually scale up?
There's something I like to call technological literacy. You discover that even another thing outside cost would actually be the enlightenment, the literacy. You tell the average person that, oh, okay, I'm a data analyst and I think I can help your business. And then the first thing that they look at you is that what role do you want to play in my business? People do not look outside the traditional role of the office. You know, this person is this is the sales team, and this is the marketing team, and this is the this is even this. It will shock us to know that social media team is even much more embraced nowadays in the traditional sense than even data analysts. So aside the cost, I'm also going to say that digital or technological literacy is also something that we should also look at.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Christopher Udoka. Now, most of the time when we converse with data analysts like yourselves and others, statisticians, we spoke with one yesterday, they always tell us that Nigeria and Africa, most of the time, they don't mind their data. Do you think that Africa risks becoming a data colony, or are we going to continue to depend on foreign organizations and foreign countries who continue to mine our local data without local value addition?
I think we need massive investments in data. We need our census board. I think it was some years ago wanted to conduct, I think it was during the last regime, was looking at conducting a
Population census.
census,
Population census, yes.
and then there was this, yes, there was population census, yes, and there was this very hefty amount, huge amount of money that the census board was actually putting. And when I looked into the budget for what they were quoting, I discovered that at the end of the day, it will still be the foreigners that it is still be the foreigners. It is their cloud system that we would still use. We do not have any kind of indigenous
Solution?
cloud system.
Okay.
Our passports, our international passports as a Nigerian is not produced in Nigeria. In fact, that was one of the reasons why in the last administration there were several backlogs of people queuing to wait to get their passports. So we need a government, or we need private firms. It could be a PPP, that is public-private partnership, coming together and saying that, oh, this is what we want to do. We build an indigenous cloud-based system where we can mine our own data, where everything is localized, where everything is sourced locally. So to answer your question, yes, I do not think that Africa is doing enough. Africa as a whole is doing enough to mine our own data. Our data is all over. If okay, let me give an example. If it is easier for a foreign security firm, foreign government security firm, or for security architecture to get a hold of my data, of your data, than it is for the DSS. That is how difficult it is. It is easier for them than it is than the DSS, because of course it is foreign. So we need more investment. We need more hands on deck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for saying that word, investment. In the Buhari's administration, he actually budgeted about 14.5 billion naira for data. I mean, for the population census. In 2020, I think about 10 billion of that amount was released, and in 2021, about 4.5 billion of that amount was released for the enumeration demarcation area. For data analysts like you, if you were talking about investment, what are the sort of infrastructure that you think Africa or Nigeria needs for us to be independent, to generate and store our own, mine and store our own data for effectively laying the roadmap for economic development?
We need a cloud-based system, an indigenous cloud-based system that works, because every data is stored in a cloud. Without that cloud, you cannot get information, or you cannot get the data that you need to give to people like me to be able to make insights. So every serious government needs, let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Few days ago, was it just yesterday or was it 2 days ago? AWS, that is the Amazon web server, was down throughout the world. It affected a whole lot of businesses, up to the businesses in even Nigeria. You cannot open several websites. You cannot use several tools. It happened yesterday. 2 days ago. We were told that there was this temporal fix, and then it happened again. So imagine that imagine that everyone is based. Of course, there are several other cloud servers, but AWS seems to be like the godfather. I like to call it the godfather of servers. So if imagine us having our own. I'm not saying that there are sometimes that, of course, there are glitches and whatnot on servers, but it is easier for us to actually own our own server. It is easier for us to be able to say that, okay, this is what we want. This is our peculiarities. This is how Nigeria is. This is the mapping system. This is the location system. These are the peculiarities that affect us as a people. And then we put that into consideration when making these systems.
Okay. So
So
Udoka, you mentioned this thing, and the way you explain it, it looks like to have our own cloud system would cost an arm and a leg. If an AWS is this international, a lot of people depend on it. You can already imagine how much money would go into it. So to advocate for one of ours, do you think we will have the resources to pull it off?
yes, if I you see one of the things about I don't want to go political, but one of the things that you discover in Nigeria is that we seem to major on the minor and then we minor on the major. That has been our attitude in Nigeria. We are where we are today because of we haven't invested heavily on data. We are where we are today because of we haven't invested heavily on data.
Really?
We do not know. The last census said that Nigeria was it 150 million thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But the data is flawed, and there is this argument that we are not even up to the 200 million people quoted in Nigeria. And I like to make the argument because
Please go ahead.
you look at
Please go ahead.
things like need. You look at 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 data like data from NIM. I think as of last month, I think as of September, the our commission said that we have about 225 million people registered under NIM. Okay, let's throw up a number. Let's add 50 million to that number. That is 100 million. And presently in Nigeria, you cannot even breathe if you don't have NIM. You cannot breathe. So let's say that plus or minus 50 million people added to it. That is 175 million. So what is the data, or what data is what data do they look at to say that, oh, Nigeria is 200 million people, or Nigeria is 200 and whatever million people that they are quoting? What is if we are 220 million, like they quote?
But Udoka, in basic statistics, you are allowed to have a band like before or after. So even if you have a particular number, you are allowed to have there's a name they call it in statistics. You have a before and after
margin of error.
Margin of error, bless you. That was what I was looking. So if you say we are roughly 175 and somebody comes and says we are over 200 million, it kind of like works because there's people that you really cannot account for.
Well, the reason why most people throw up that number, I'll tell you why, is because of political reasons. It's because of political and selfish reasons. That's why I feel that most people throw up that number. Because at the end of the day, statistics may not tell you, like I said, margin of error. Statistics may not be 100% correct, may not be 100% accurate, but it will give you something close to an accurate picture. So my statistics, like I've said, I brought statistics from our bureau, the bureau in charge of the NIN, and it says that as of last month, September, it had 125 people registered under NIN. So I said, okay, my margin of error should be, let me throw 50 more million people. So what's the calculation that we have another 100 million people who is not under NIN? So these are the things that we look out for, and these are the things where I feel that statistics can actually come in. Okay, we have 100 and NIN can actually tell you that this is the amount of male that we have, and this is the amount of female that we have. This is the amount of elderly people that we have, and this is the amount of youth. So the people throwing up that number, what is the ratio of boys and girls? Because these things, at the end of the day, you will discover that it helps in planning.
Yes.
Nigeria has retrogressed. I'll tell you that one of the reasons why Nigeria has retrogressed over the last couple of years is because of the government is not actually planning properly. They just come up and then they just tell you that we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to do this. You are not putting population into consideration. You are not putting the cultural dynamism of that community into consideration. You are not putting the value chain, the supply chain, the logistics of that community into perspective. And all these are things that data would have easily helped sort out.
Yes.
So these and more are actually the reasons why, you see, we need infrastructure. Like I said, we major on the minor and minor on the major. You were telling me about how it's going to cost the arm and the length, but in this country, somebody actually owns a refinery, or a group of probably less than 20 people own a refinery, and then the Nigerian state cannot own a refinery, cannot build a refinery. So it is actually the the level or the reality
Political
that we
will.
find ourselves in.
All right.
Yes. So
Thank you.
we need that political will. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christopher Udoka, for your time with us. I wish we had more time to continue this conversation, but we look forward to Emmanuel Amolo bringing you again one more time, and hopefully this time you are going to be present and live in the studio. It's been a fantastic moment having this conversation with you. Christopher Udoka is a data analyst, project manager, an entrepreneur with a passion for using analytics to drive business growth and strategic decision making. He holds certification in data analytics and project management and has led several data-driven transformation projects across sectors, including fintech, education, and public policy. Christopher is an advocate for innovation-led development in Africa, focusing on empowering startups and youth with data literacy and technological skills. His work bridges the gap between analytics, entrepreneurship, and sustainable development, helping organizations translate data into measurable impact. Christopher Udoka, it's been a great moment having you today with us in the studio. Thanks for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. That's quite
valid. I mean, most of the arguments, I feel like it shouldn't be watered down because it makes a lot of sense. If you've got the right information, it helps better decision making. I think it was the Fashola government. Yeah, the Fashola government before he went to do minister work in Abuja. He was always saying that I can't take care of everybody if I don't know how many people are in Lagos. And then the numbers, that is the official numbers, he feels it is not even accurate. Because I think there was a point, it was always argument between Lagos and Kano, who had the more population, that number. But it wasn't even in just, population is no longer about numbers, it's the people. How many of these people can our policies reach, and then it becomes translated into effective,
development plans?
Because I can't come and say, oh, I want to do a road from here to 500 kilometers, as it were. I don't know if it's going to cut across people's houses. You need data, you need information in these places. It's not just, oh, I want to do this. How many people would it affect? How many people would benefit from it? How many people you feel, oh, this should we rethink it? Will we bend it in a certain kind of way? How many people can make these changes that are effective, one result, not, oh, I want to do something because it needs to be done.
Great. Well, we look forward to having this conversation one more time, because if it's about data and planning, we know that sometimes each state can go into presenting their own or capturing their own data of people within their states, and they can come up with one if it was accurately done without being influenced politically and otherwise, so that if the states can't use it, if the federal government can't use it, at least the states can use it as an instrument of economic planning for the development of the states. Well, our time is fast spent, and this is where we are drawing the curtain on Just Africa. Thank you so much for sticking with us in the program from the beginning to the end. I'm Oyepriye Krumale. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms, the SOUQ News TV. Yes, Emmanuel.
It's been a very, very interesting conversation, and I like the fact that we went from food to data. And of course, if you know, when we're talking about getting healthy food, data is also very, very important. Exactly. So I like the two conversations today, and I'm sure our audiences today had a field time listening to our guests on today's episode.
Yes. Bye for now.
Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Masi Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, the National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbols of strength and dignity. Our historic neighbors include the King's College and the Holy Cross Cathedral. Tafawa Balewa Square hosted some of the country's memorable events, such as the Independence Day in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January 15. The edifice is a national cultural asset. Tafawa Balewa Square, SOUQ Enlightenment.
Well, you already know my name is Steve Omojafor, and my middle name is Bamidele. That was the name that my parents gave me at birth, because it was like they regarded themselves as not Lagosians. It is Providence that brought them into Lagos, and I then happened to be born here at Odo Street, Balindi. And in fact, we had it. We didn't go to Mercy Hospital then. There was a little home along Odo Street run by a very experienced nurse, Mama Nurse. That's what we, So I was born in that little place, and grew up from there. Like I said, my middle name is Bamidele. My parents probably said, well, we have had it here, but this is not home. As at that time, you will go home with us. No problem. So I started off at St. Matthias Catholic Primary School on Louis Street. And I was in St. Matthias from 1953 till 1960, when we finished with our primary school leaving certificate. Then from there, an extra year at Holy Cross School. We did that extra, they call it prep class. Prepare yourself to go to the secondary school. I'm from Holy Cross for 1 year, I moved on to St. Gregory's College, Lagos. Now, growing up in Lagos was one of the best things that happened to us then. Life was good, life was easy, life was safe, life was like everything that a young man could aspire to. We went to school with scholars bus, which was virtually provided for free. When scholars bus was not available, it was fun walking from Obalende, firstly to St. Matthias, and then from there to St. Gregory's College. Life was good, life was safe. You could go out any time of the day. You could play from house to house. Parents knew each other very well. And so, in fact, when you were late somewhere on your street or in your neighborhood, you could sleep there because they would send a message to your home that Dele is here, so don't bother. The next morning you wake up, have your bath, have breakfast, return to your home. There was this community life that we all lived. Parents could discipline children of their friends, okay? Not like these days, you dare not touch any other child. The parents will come and, do a battle with you. That I didn't send my child to you to be flogged or to be beaten. So it was a very beautiful life. So went to St. Matthias, went to St. Gregory's College, and then from there to University of Lagos. We were our brothers' keepers. School was fun. Teachers were all there just to teach you. There was no messing around. There weren't any bad habits that people could be developing along the line, So that was my life growing up. So we were all walking through Balinde to Lafiaji, to Campus Square, to Tokunbo, Okekpokpo, So we were children of the neighborhood. We were children of the area. So I'm never ashamed to say I'm an area boy in Lafiaji. Today it has become a taboo, but then we were proud of our origin. We were proud of our place of birth, and we were proud growing up in the neighborhood. So today, still believe me, I get up on some Fridays, I just go to Lafiaji, I stay with the guys. Okay, not all of us were fortunate enough to go through the system. Okay, so those who, in quote, we left behind, we still, a lot of the time, we still talk to them. We still relate to them when there are problems that we could fix. We help out. Because, it wasn't their fortune to be able to have gone. I know some dropped out, on their own volition. But generally, we all like the idea of going to school. Some couldn't make it, but we still relate to them. We are still friends. So I'm not surprised I leave Holy Cross Cathedral and I just hear people call me my names. And I know these people are those who knew me when we were growing up. Let me start by saying that even at secondary school, I read a lot. I was interested in the newspapers, and a lot of the time I read something, there was always this beautiful column of letters to the editor. So anything that I read that I liked, I sit down, 2-3 paragraphs letter to the editor to compliment what they've done, to criticize what I didn't like, and these things were published. And I liked it, okay? You open the papers and you just see, contributed by Steve Omojafo, or some will call me Bamidele Omojafo. So that kept me getting interested in the media. So when I left secondary school, after higher school, I would just pay a visit to Daily Times, which was in Tinubu, Kakawa Street. I just pay a visit there, and I got talking to people. They would take me to the newsroom, they would just show me how newspapers are produced and all that. That ignited my interest. So when I left higher school, mass communication was what called me. I know that my uncle, you are not doing accountancy, you are not doing engineering, you're not doing medicine. You want to go and become a newspaper boy? I said, yes, this is where my interests lie. So I got admitted to Lagos University. I studied mass communication there. And while I was there, I developed a column in Lagos Weekend of those days. Every Friday I was contributing. And I was writing under the name of Akibodilon. Now, Akibodilon itself is a name that I picked up in a drama group. Because we had a drama group that we produced all kinds of little plays here and there at Jekirandu Hall, So one of the roles I played was Akibodilon. So when I started writing my columns in Daily Times and Lagos Weekend, I just used that pen name, Akibodilon. So I did the program and I started writing for Daily Times campus news, things that happened during elections, battle between the male and female, problems with the tutors and everything. So it became a very regular program. In fact, I inherited the program from late Golabo Ogusawo, who was my boss in the Daily Times. So I did that program for 3 years. It became very popular. It got to a point, Vice Chancellor would call me to say, there's a little thing going on in the university. I hope you have covered it for your paper. And I said, I'm not even employed there. I'm just writing, So I left University of Lagos, had all kinds of jobs that one could do, but I headed for Daily Times because I just had developed a path for myself, and that is journalism. Okay. So while in the Daily Times, worked with the Lagos Weekend, went to Daily Times proper and worked there. I was a columnist, I was a sub-editor, and also a reporter. Combined everything. So that was where my interest grew, and it was very painful when I had to leave the Daily Times organization. And what did I go to? Lintas Advertising. When I walked into Lintas, and I said to the chairman managing director, and I said, I want a job. I said, just like that? I said, yes, sir. Then it was easy to communicate with people. We're not too many, so they listen to you. So he said, what are you doing now? I said, I'm a sub-editor at the Daily Times. So why are you coming to advertising? I want to broaden my space. I want to broaden my experiences. It took about 3 months, and I got a job in Lintas. And I remember Alhaji Babatunde Joseph, when I was going to leave, said, look, Steve, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Lintas. I said, well, we do the same thing. They package programs commercially. Here we do our papers and we go sell. So I said, okay, sir, let me just go gather some experience at Linters. And Linters and Daily Times were just 5 minutes walk from each other. And I said, sir, if the editor needs me for anything, trust me, I will spend my time and money, do write-ups for this.